Welcome to TV Africa News. Thank you so much for joining us and always being part of us. This is Africa Today. My name is Nahaba Kajura. But first are the headlines. President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni woos Turkish investors to Uganda. The Deputy Speaker of Parliament calls for audit of police circle. Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta calls for the lifting of sanctions on Zimbabwe. In our sports today, UPDF Arua Hill shares polls in Bombo. Once again, thank you so much for joining us. We start with one of our top stories. Now, President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni has said Uganda has great potential in mineral exploration and development and only needs investors they can partner with to refine and add value to export. We have the details.
Museveni was on Wednesday meeting Turkish investors introduced by the Turkish ambassador to Uganda, Fikret Kerem Alp, and included the Dogyap Insert Ta Energy, a subsidiary of the Doganla Yatirim holding company led by the vice president and chairman of the Dale Business Council Dogan Al Dogan. The company deals in retail, energy, construction and furniture, and is already involved in the construction of Uganda's national industrial and business parks and agro-industrial business parks. The country has already signed a letter of intent with government to explore investment opportunities in Uganda with an estimated value of $125 million. Museveni said that they are very interested in mineral development because the security exports have gone up in the region, especially of the gold.
Oh, he wants to make computers. He wants to make mobile phones. So why don't you do it here? So the tax companies, if they could work with even the government ones, even government companies, to partner to process up to 100%, and then link with the final products, the computers, the mobile phones. Yes. Using the local raw materials here.
He added that they have removed all taxes on refined minerals, which will make the gold to be refined from here and benefit the people. The president said that other priority minerals include industrial steel, phosphates, copper, tin, pharmaceuticals and agro-processing. Turkish ambassador to Uganda, Fikret Kerem Alp, said Turkish investors are interested in agro-industrial business, including fruit and vegetable processing, cold stores, training centers and agro-industrial schools.
Well, thank you so much, our reporter. Moving on, Kampala City Traders Association has advised that traders be allowed to import goods in order to beat the hike in prices of commodities and other basic goods used every day. Now, Kasita accuses local manufacturers of having intentions of pushing trades out of textile business, rendering most Ugandans unemployed.
Speaking to journalists in Kampala, Kasita acting chairperson Thaddeus Musoke says the demand for basic goods and commodities has given local manufacturers a chance to hike prices, therefore importation of goods will help control the inflation.
So there is a lot of demand which is giving a leeway to these local manufacturers to hike the price because that scarcity helps them to maximize profits. So for us, we think as Kasita, when we import, we can easily control that inflation.
Asked whether Kasita does not support the Buy Uganda, Build Uganda Bubu government policy, Musoke said there is no way Ugandans can protect industries which cannot fulfill their demands.
Why should we protect industries which cannot fulfill the demands of Ugandans? And unless the government is ready to urgently address the issue, to build their capacity, because we as traders, we don't have that capacity to urgently rush into manufacturing. It requires a lot of capital investment. And we have so many challenges with Uganda Development Bank.
The prices of basic commodities such as cooking oil, rice, sugar, bread, milk and other items have risen sharply in recent weeks, making them growingly unaffordable to the poor. UBO's report reveals Uganda's inflation in its primary colors as having climbed to 3.2%, up from 2.7% registered in January. The report adds that the said inflation is flipped by the multi-layered increase in prices of education services, furnishings and routine household costs that went up by 9%. The UBOS report also states that the restaurants and accommodation services went up by 3.2%, clothing and footwear 2.5%, transport 0.6%, personal care, social protection and miscellaneous goods by 4.6%. Nalugo Muyingo, Africa Today.
Away from that, the Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Anita Among, has directed the Auditor General to investigate Exodus, a Ugandan police SACCO, after MP cited irregularities in its operations. Here are the details. Among said the situation in which police officers were living was bad and that encroaching on their savings called for urgent response on the side of the government. Her directive was followed, concerned by Busia Municipality MP Godfrey Macho, who said that although all police officers are mandated to save in Exodus, access to savings has been a challenge. Nathan Nandala Mafabi, MP from FDC representing Budadiri West, said that he and colleagues had received several complaints from police officers who said that the SACCO benefits mainly the influential people in the force. Added that during the time he served as the chairperson, Public Accounts Committee, there were complaints on operations of Exodus that prompted the committee to demand for a forensic. He, however, added that a report that in fact was never presented. Among said, she was also concerned about the poor state of the accommodation facilities in the police barracks and called on MPs to take a position on police welfare. Well, thank you so much, our reporter. We take a quick break. We shall come back with the international news. Welcome back from the break. You're still watching TV Africa, the right to know. In our international news today, Kenya's President Uhuru Kenyatta has called on the international community to lift sanctions against Zimbabwe, stating that the restrictions are hurting the southern African nation. Now, Kenyatta termed the sanctions as illegal and assured Zimbabwe of Kenya's continued advocacy to ensure that the restrictions are lifted. More details in this report.
The Kenyan leader Uhuru Kenyatta was speaking at the State House during a joint press briefing with the visiting of Zimbabwe President Emmerson Mnangagwa shortly after the two heads of state led their respective delegations in bilateral talks. The two countries signed bilateral agreements which include Memorandum of Understanding on political and diplomatic consultations, tourism and wildlife conservation, and civil aircraft accidents and serious incidents investigations. Other Memorandum of Understanding signed were on women empowerment and community development, youth affairs, cooperatives and sports and recreation activities. President Kenyatta said the agreements will enable Kenya and Zimbabwe to cooperate in addressing challenges, particularly youth and unemployment. He pointed out that the signing of the agreement on women empowerment was particular since it was entered into on Monday, a day before the International Women's Day celebrations, during which Kenya rededicated herself to the attainment of her ambitious gender goals.
Away from that, a contingent of 250 Ukrainian peacekeepers are to leave eastern DRC and return to Ukraine, according to the announcement made on Tuesday by the UN. Nalugo has the details.
A date is yet to be announced for the departure. The withdrawal will also include equipment and helicopters. Rede Chibanda, a local resident, said that they are leaving to strengthen forces at home because things have heated up lately, adding that it's not a problem at all. Rede said that they can leave to find a solution at home because it's not important to be with them in the DRC while things are burning at home. Justin Maheshe, a local vendor, said that they will continue to pray for them for that war to end because everything that has a beginning has an end. Justin added that they don't want this war to persist, even if at home in the DRC the war continues, but rather they want that war to end with the help of God. Goma is in the eastern part of DRC and has been plagued by violence from dozens of armed groups for more than 20 years.
Moving on, in our international news, the release of the leader of the main opposition party last week has raised hopes of a democratic opening in Tanzania, but many experts believe that the page of authoritarianism has not yet been turned in this East African community. We have the details. In a surprise move, Tanzanian prosecutors announced on Friday that they were dropping charges against Chadema party leader Freeman Mbowe, who has been in prison for more than 7 months and on trial for terrorism. Shortly after his release, the opposition figure was received by President Samia Suluhu Hassan, and both promised to heal the country's divisions. The meeting rekindled the optimism generated by Samia Suluhu Hassan's appointment as president in March 2021 after the sudden death of her autocratic predecessor John Magufuli, nicknamed the Bulldozer for his uncompromising style. At the time, she displayed a certain break with her predecessor, reaching out to the opposition, allowing the reopening of banned media. In a speech to supporters on Tuesday, Freeman Mbowe said a truce with Samia Suluhu Hassan could pave the way for a better future. Samia Suluhu Hassan was under pressure to stop the prosecution of Freeman Mbowe on what Chadema described as political charges designed to silence the opposition. Away from that, Egypt's Prime Minister announced that the country is to diversify its sources of wheat to avoid relying on what he described as specific sources for this product. Now, the minister added that the country would be using its strategic reserves until the end of 2022. The announcement followed a ban on the export of wheat and other food samples announced by Ukraine. The Egyptian Prime Minister Mustafa assured all Egyptians that they won't have any crisis at all or be compelled to buy from the international market until the end of this year. He said that he was talking about citizens' basic needs concerning the bread loaf, as the Egyptian state won't be pressured at all to buy any shipments under the current price surges, as they will have a stock that will cover their needs until the end of 2022. Egypt relies on Russia and Ukraine for the supply of wheat that is turned into bread, noodles, and animal feed. The Prime Minister promised that they have already started to diversify their sources of wheat for imports in future deals, and is already applied even in Russia and Ukraine, where their main source of wheat. Millions of Egypt rely on subsidized bread made with Ukrainian wheat. Sharp spikes in the cost of wheat could severely affect Egypt's ability to keep bread prices at their current subsidized level. Africa Today takes a quick break. We shall come back with business, sports, and health. Welcome back from the break. You're still watching TV Africa, the right to know. In the business news today, flight delays and cancellations among airlines in Nigeria continues unabated as scarcity of aviation fuel bites harder and the cost of purchase increases. Now, at Nigeria's busiest airports in Lagos and Abuja, aircraft scheduled to fly on Tuesday were parked for hours waiting for fuel.
Local media reports that airlines like Ibom Air could not fly most of their aircraft due to fuel scarcity. The airline admitted to the situation and predicted the situation may extend to Thursday. The airline authorities said that they have encountered a situation where aviation fuel is scarce and therefore unavailable at almost all their flight destinations, which has significantly impacted their flight schedule. Dana Air also found itself in the same situation last week, where most of their flights were cancelled due to fuel scarcity. Last month, one of Nigeria's airlines, Air Peace, informed passengers that some of their flights were delayed due to scarcity. The airline said that their Lagos to Port Harcourt flight for 14:30 on February 15th was delayed due to lack of fuel, and the Port Harcourt to Abuja flight for 16:25 and Abuja to Lagos for 16:25 were also affected. Despite being Africa's largest oil producer, Nigeria imports almost all its jet fuel. Motorists have also been suffering from several fuel shortages at the pumps for weeks. Global oil prices have hit a 14-year peak after Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
Talking matters health, Africa's most populous country, Nigeria, is struggling with double-digit inflation, especially high food prices, and many Nigerians are looking for ways to save on basic expenses. Now they have turned to herbal remedies, which have deep-rooted culture in Nigeria, especially in more traditional communities, for survival. Traditional herbal remedies have become one way, even though the sector is unregulated by health authorities, and medical experts often warn about the risk of fake, even dangerous remedies. Despite his financial services job in the North Nigerian city of Kano, 2 years ago, Usman Ahmed started buying cheaper herbal drugs to treat his family's ailments after surging inflation left modern medicines beyond his budget. An anti-malaria mix cost Ahmed 200 naira compared to the 2,500 naira he would pay for treatment at the hospital. Nigeria's economy has been badly hit by falls in global oil prices in the pandemic, which slashed petroleum revenue, weakened the local naira, and helped keep inflation at around 17%. The economic squeeze of low oil prices plunged Nigeria into recession in 2016 and 2020, pushing an additional 7 million into poverty in 2020 alone, according to the World Bank's Global Poverty Index. Even before that, millions of Nigerians were living in poverty on less than $1 a day. In a sports news today, Ibrahim Wamana scored the opener for UPDF on the stroke of halftime. Stephen Kabuye replied for visiting Aroa Hill for 3 minutes left on the clock.
Museveni was on Wednesday meeting Turkish investors introduced by the Turkish ambassador to Uganda, Fikret Kerem Alp, and included the Dogyap Insert Ta Energy, a subsidiary of the Doganla Yatirim holding company led by the vice president and chairman of the Dale Business Council, Dogan Al-Dogan. The company deals in retail, energy, construction and furniture, and is already involved in the construction of Uganda's national industrial and business parks and agro-industrial business parks. The country has already signed a letter of intent with government to explore investment opportunities in Uganda with an estimated value of $125 million. Museveni said that they are very interested in mineral development because the security exports have gone up in the region, especially of the gold. He added that they have removed all taxes on refined minerals, which will make the gold to be refined from here and benefit the people. The president said that other priority minerals include industrial steel, phosphates, copper, tin, pharmaceuticals and agro-processing. Turkish ambassador to Uganda, Fikret Kerem Alp, said Turkish investors are interested in agro-industrial business, including fruit and vegetable processing, cold stores, training centers, and agro-industrial schools.
Well, thank you so much for being a low audience. For more We Started From, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We shall keep updating you. It is TV Africa, the right to know.